I have a theory. These watches can somehow be a reflection of the maturity level of the average ambassador at the brand. So a lot of these watches are actually made to impress the ambassadors. And depending on the ambassador's age and experience with watches, they're going to demand different things. The ambassador that demands the moon watch with the tiny rocket clearly is not that experienced of a watch enthusiast. And yet you look at the roster of Omega's ambassadors, which is vast at this point, and there's a lot of young kids on there that, for them, this is probably cool. I think a lot of it has to do with, like, who are the people the brand talking to on a regular basis, and how quickly when they wear this thing, and they'll be like, oh, I know I asked for it, but, yeah.
Greetings and welcome to this week's aBlogtoWatch Weekly. We are now 5,988 days into the existence of aBlogtoWatch, and we are yet to sell a watch. Ariel, anything on the horizon? We're not about to change tack, sell watches? No.
Want to design watches, desperately don't want to sell watches.
That sounds like a plan, especially in this market, which seems to be, maybe not call it a crash, a correction. Might be. There's been lots of chat.
I just think it's funny, like, the last several years, it was like everyone's little dream is like, let's sell watches. Every grandmother and, you know, her nephew and, you know, they're going to team up and one of them's going to go get the watches. The other's going to be the cool personality online. It's like, it just became this trendy thing to become a watch dealer. And it was kind of gross because it was just a bunch of people seeing potential dollar signs. Nobody had anything to add to the marketplace other than, I think somebody will buy from me.
Yes. David, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Tempted at all to sell any watches?
No, not much.
Do you trade your own watches much?
No. I've not sold one of my personal watches in a year or more.
I've only got one, so there's no. If I sold that, there's kind of no point in really being on this show.
You need more watches, sir.
Yes,
I'm open to everybody sending me them. But I really don't get the need to own multiples. I can just, look at the nice pictures. It's like owning more than one motor car.
You know what my dream is? And I've actually talked about this with Wolf, and I think they even designed a prototype, and they have some things in the past. But the idea was this. I want to have a little box for a watch, and I want to put them on the wall. But I want to fill the entire wall of them. So I want the wall just to be full of these little, pockets for watches. And you look at your wall, and it's just like, you see this collection. It's sort of like, we've seen this before, like, that you go to like some of those fancy shoe stores, it's just like a wall of shoes, but imagine that's just a wall of watches. So I think it would be cool to look upon a grand space in your living room, and it's just like all your watches. It's something to be proud of. Like, look, they're all trophies, right? They all celebrate something about yourself. Either it's your taste or some experience you had or some anniversary. The vast amount of money you used to have.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
And
so it's
no
like this
have.
wall of your personal success and taste. And I think more people than just me would find that appealing.
You see this wall, son? All of this is 30 off now.
I'm sure there'll be
Son, I didn't pay tax on any of this.
aBlogtoWatch wallpaper, just with pictures. Pictures is fine.
I think that would sell. If you had wallpaper, which was just of a bunch of watches, I mean,
wow.
I wouldn't sell a watch, but watch wallpaper?
Watch wallpaper is the future. #watch wallpaper.
Okay, that's going in the store, David.
Yes.
We got to put a really good adhesive on the back of that one. I don't want that peeling off.
All right.
Right. Well, let's. I was going to say let's talk about something more serious. I suppose it is more serious, but it also happened to Arnold Schwarzenegger, so maybe it's not quite so serious because he had the deep pockets. Ariel, tell us what happened to Arnie this week.
So basically, and I think the reason I want to talk about this is not to promote how awesome Audemars Piguet is, because I think for a lot of people that's what this story was. But Arnold is traveling from where he lives in Los Angeles to Germany. I believe the airport was Munich, so he's arriving in Germany. And at least one of the reasons he's there in Germany is to attend a charity auction, and he's donating one of his own personal Audemars Piguet watches. One of the ones that they made for one of the Terminator movies, super cool thing, from the 90s, and he's gonna donate and sell for charity. It sells for like $300,000 or something like that, but that's not even the point. So he's entering the country in Germany, and he gets, I guess, randomly stopped by the customs police. And
they just wanted a signature, let's face it.
Maybe. And they open up his luggage and everything. They search and they find the watch, and they're like, you had to declare this. And he's like, okay, but I was like, I'm like here to sell it for charity, whatever. And they're like, no, you have to declare this. And then it ends up costing him like more than the value of the watch. It was like 30-something thousand euros, which I didn't understand where that number came from, because there was an amount of money, which was the duty, and then there was the penalty, and then there was something else. And then apparently this ordeal took him several hours because of a bunch of other things that were silly, like they wouldn't accept his card for that amount of money, and the ATM wouldn't work, and they were like had a bunch of police escorting him around like he's some type of a misfit. And the funny thing is, you look at the pictures, the jacket he's wearing was his California state governor jacket. So like it was just this whole comedy of thing. And look, he's going to take this in stride. Nobody wants to be delayed 3 hours in the airport. And the reason I want to talk about, the reason I want to talk about this is because this entire concept of declaring goods doesn't make any sense. Who is the chump who's going to say, you know what, most of the time people get through, but I'm going to be the one to spend money for absolutely no reason? And if the system is about this honorary approach, the honor system of I'm going to declare something, and a lot of people won't do it. The world does not change if you bring your expensive watch into a country and then leave with it. I mean, the rule, at least in Europe, is if you bring in something over 10,000 euros in value, you have to declare it and pay tax on it. It doesn't matter if it's just yours. This isn't about selling it. It's just about bringing it in.
I don't think that's true.
That's what it is. It wants you to declare anything that's over 10,000 euros of value.
Maybe, but I'm not sure that you're supposed to pay taxes on it. That would be really
okay,
weird.
But you have to declare it. Why? I don't know. Why do they care? Why do they care if you're bringing this stuff in? So if there's no way of like making sure it's everyone, it's equal, and it's reliant on you humiliating yourself, right? And paying for no reason, how is this a system? And if you don't declare, you're being punished because you're not a moron? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. And the idea that this is a money-making scheme, I mean, this is such a poorly flawed, unfair system. And I guess it's more common in the EU. I guess in the US, you certainly maybe have to declare things, but that's not what they're looking for in the US. They're looking for
salami.
Endangered species and yes,
you literally can bring like a rod of, but that's whataboutism. Okay, so let's return to.
So I'm saying, okay, countries, if you want to make money on luxury goods, is this really the way to do it? It's humiliating for everyone involved. Germany looks like a prick. Okay, Arnold looks like a martyr. Nobody in the tax authority looks like a good guy here. I'm sorry. It's embarrassing.
Maybe it was just that those at the customs, they'd never seen an Audemars Piguet in the store, and that was their only chance to see one.
Okay, but this is not how we should assert power. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's like Arnold was asked, "Could you please volunteer to flog yourself?" Like, who wants to do that? This is the dumbest system.
I think the problem here was that, again, I still don't believe that you have to declare anything over or everything over 10K of value. You have to declare if you're traveling with more than 10K cash, but not if you're traveling with a 20K watch. You don't have to declare it or anything like that, as long as it's one or maybe two watches. But here, I think he was also traveling, as far as I understand, the box and papers of the watch, and it was already in the auction catalog. So he couldn't say that, it's my personal watch and I'm just traveling with it. It was obvious that it was going to be for sale, and it was to stick around in Europe. So it was not like a personal item or something like that, but rather something for sale. And
David's going to get like a little honorary badge from the German tax authority. You're gonna be like it's called an honorary deputy. Okay, here's a real story, David. And you sort of know this. And you're in Switzerland. You go on the trams and things like that, the bus. You pay on the honor system. There's like a machine in there, and like they're like, buy a ticket. You're supposed to. And of course, they have these inspectors that go around from time to time and say, hey, do you have a ticket? And I remember chatting with someone who was living in Switzerland for a long time, and we were talking about this, and he said that he had never bought a ticket. And he just wanted to go and see how much money he would pay in fines versus tickets. And what he found is he paid about 1/4 of what he would in fines over a several-year period as he would just paying the ticket. Now, every consumer wants to reduce the amount of money they spend on things, right? So when you're basically rewarded for breaking the law, it's just a bad system. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be an honorary system or things like that. I'm simply saying, like, why do governments expect consumers to go out of their way to pay more? This is not how consumers work.
Okay, but there's a contradiction here because Schwarzenegger had to pay more than the value of the watch, and that was a problem too. So you see there, they do desperately want you to declare these things because if you're not, then you're royally screwed. So there, at least as far as imports are concerned and the declarations and stuff, and tax is concerned, there the penalty is greater than the damage that you would normally
And again, what
cause.
is the theory behind taxing luxury goods? Is it just idea of here's someone who can afford to pay? Because I don't see how taxing this helps infrastructure at all.
Well, you have to pay taxes on anything over a couple €100. Maybe like 1,000. Maybe it depends on the country, but it's not just luxury goods. So if you buy like a really expensive laptop or something that is over the limit, then you're in no time into the zone where you have to declare. And if you are searched or whatever. At one point, I brought back a Swatch of all things. I'm not exactly a Schwarzenegger. And I brought back a Swatch gift for my mom from Switzerland. And they went through my stuff and they found it. And it was still within the limits or something like that. But barely. A freaking Swatch, So that's far away from an AP in terms of value.
We've had people going to Watches and Wonders. Was the gang from Fratello not taxed? Because they'd all taken
At Basel.
Like,
That was a Basel
Basel,
years ago. And that was on the train. That was a train entry.
yeah,
A
they'd
train
taken
station,
like
but
6 watches each or something.
That was the problem, 6 watches. But if had he taken 3 train rides and brought 2 watches on each turn, then that would have been totally fine.
It's
I mean,
watch
it's just
transport.
punishing consumption. Again, I don't understand how that helps pay for infrastructure. I don't understand how that is a logical assessment on the privilege of doing business in an area. I think, don't you want consumers to spend a bunch of money? I don't get it.
Well, I ask you this. Is the German infrastructure better than the infrastructure in Scotland, America, and Hungary?
I don't
probably. No, I would say it probably is.
Because
Therefore,
they tax watches
Well,
coming in the
it
airport?
seems to be working for them.
Well, in
Okay,
Hungary, we pay more taxes, but our infrastructure sucks. But that's for completely different reasons.
I just
That's
don't
a
think these
different
types of
show.
taxes even go to infrastructure.
Yeah.
I think they simply go to hiring more people to collect more taxes.
I mean, someone's got to do
That's what's happening. It's not the Wild West, Ariel. It's a tame West.
Look, I don't want. I'm not an anti-tax person. I want to feel that when we pay taxes, I'm excited. Like, yes, they keep those roads
Okay,
really
that's
good.
extreme.
That hospital was amazing. Let me invest into my community. Let me feel that these dollars will work for me. None of us should be upset paying taxes. We should feel like we're paying for our neighborhood and our community and our safety and our convenience, our comfort. We all feel like we're getting like a really bad deal in return when we're angry about taxes. That's the moral of the story. None of us would be upset if we felt like we got a bunch of good stuff out of it.
Well, welcome to A Blog to Watch does Joe Rogan.
Infrastructure Weekly.
Is that what Joe Rogan talks about?
Well, I don't know. I imagine in my mind's eye, Joe Rogan rants about tax occasionally, at the very least, because he probably pays quite a lot of it. Yes, the Infrastructure Weekly, A Blog to Watch infrastructure. I don't know, a civil engineering show. That sounds like fun. We can talk
Public
about
policy with A Blog to
bridges
Watch.
Yes, and public policy. I think A Blog to Watch does politics. Up for that. Let's have A Blog to Watch doing some watches.
Please don't vote for me.
Are you standing?
Ariel for president.
Well,
it's
you
too
can-
late now, Ariel.
Well,
Please
no,
don't.
because in the States you can write in, can't you? So
Gosh.
you can write people's names in the box, so you don't have to vote for the people who are on the ballot. You can also write in. So here's the challenge. Somebody in the upcoming 2024, it's probably completely illegal, and I'll not write Ariel Adams' name in the box, take a photo, send it to the channel that you voted Ariel Adams for president.
I do not endorse this message.
Anyway, talking of people endorsing things, Nodus Canyon. This is an interesting watch and an interesting take on a relationship with a watch influencer of sorts, Matt Farah, and
Car
Nodus Ariel.
influencer.
Well, he did have a watch YouTube channel for 50 episodes, a very good one actually. A couple of years ago, that was done in association with Crown and Caliber back in the day, pre Houdinki calamity. But anyway,
Yeah, they sponsored all that.
Yeah, it was a really good show. Nodus Canyon by Smoking Tires, Matt Farah. Ariel, you have had hands on with this, and you have some thoughts on how this watch came to be.
So I went to interview Matt and Wes from Nodus the other week. That show is going to go on Superlative, but it hasn't aired yet. And, we talked all about this. Look, I think it just was a matter of time before collaborations turned into let's make a whole new model. The reason that we're talking about this, other than it's a cool watch and these are, cool people to talk about, is Nodus took the challenge of let's make a new collection. And the number one thing that I reject, or most people reject when it's like, let's do a collaboration together, is, hey, let's just change a dial color, or some, really modest, easy to change thing, which isn't very substantial. The idea is that they tried to make the watch that Matt Farah wanted, right? So he wasn't designing it. He more gave like a list of tech specs and had some benchmark watches like, make it like this or make it like that. That's one way of going around watch design. And they created this new collection called the Canyon. And it's a great watch in a lot of ways. It's extremely competent. It's nice looking. It's comfortable. It's really legible. It's fun. It's not too expensive. And I think it's a success. And I want this to be an example for more of the industry of the good things that can come from investing more into the product. These are companies that spend an awful lot into marketing. And don't get me wrong, they definitely spend into product, but they are very hesitant to make new stuff. If you really want to take collaborations to the next level, you have to make those collaboration watches as original as possible. And when it makes sense, make a whole new collection. I mean, because at the end of the day, that's a watch for someone that wants it to exist. How often do we see watches that are like made for adventuring in the mountains? It's like, did any one specific person said this is the mountain watch for me? Probably not. But when you have at least one important person, they are an influencer who says this is a watch I really want, you tend to find that other people will want it as well. So this is a nice design exercise. I think it was about $1,200. Probably end up making more of them. Again, super competent little thing, not perfect. There's always little issues here and there, and I have a full review in it, and you can read it. But this was a really, really enjoyable watch to wear from a couple of great LA personalities, Nodus and Matt Farah. And I think what was so safe about it for Nodus, you might look at it and be like, oh, this is really risky, is that his audience, the automotive follower audience, is large and has purchased watches from him in the past because, as you said, Rick, he's demonstrated to have done a variety of watch advertising deals. So that's what I think was particularly non-risky of Nodus, because he wasn't just an influencer or a media personality that has had no feet in the watch game. And so if you really examine this was a conservative move by them in a lot of ways. So I just think that from a business perspective, this is as interesting as the resulting product.
Yeah, I seem to recall that Matt's a fan of both Panerai and that one of his favourite watches I seem to recall was a Rolex GMT Explorer 2. And this watch, in terms of scale, in terms of the numerals, you can definitely see has those kind of influences in it. David, what do you actually think of the watch?
Yeah, I quite like this one. I mean, it's a charming looking watch. I like the colors. I like the legibility. It's an established thing. I'm not sure, was this their first try or first time working together?
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's all the better. I mean, usually stuff like this that looks like this is not the first try.
Yeah.
It's not as detailed.
41mm wide, 11mm thick. It's a nice size as well. Matt's a reasonably sized guy, I think. So 200-meter water resistant. I think it's interesting. I think it is an interesting watch. It's very orange. There's no doubt about that. There's lots of orange. Presumably that's reflective of the area in California where it is that Matt roams around filming all of his car videos. How do we think, without wishing to be too crude, but we have already talked about it, how do you think the money works in something like this?
You mean in terms of how they split it?
Yeah, so do you think it's, how deep does the collaboration go? Is this he's obviously been involved in the design, but there's only 200 of them, so presumably they'll all move quite quickly. And is
I
that
don't
really
wanna
what it's
speak
designed to do? Is it
for
designed
them.
to be a quick hit, 200 watches sold, $1,000 each, 200 grand in the bank account, paying tax on supporting American infrastructure?
My understanding is that there's going to be sort of a royalty style split, and that Nodus is going to keep this Canyon collection as something which is related to Matt Farah. So every single time they do something, because he was sort of part of it, he'll get something. They haven't really figured out all those details. I know that for a fact. They figured it out for the 2 versions they've made. They made this sort of Tiffany blue dial and then this orange one. And with those, I think there's a pretty understood split. Beyond that, they're leaving the door open for things. But again, they did make a new collection. It'd be silly not to do more of it. Matt has always been very much kind of a cowboy when it comes to these marketing relationships. He's open-minded, he tries new things. He admits some works really well, some doesn't. But I like that he's always trying. And again, because it's an automotive audience, which is really big, he has the ability to work with this large variety of advertisers and do things. So if he just worked with watch advertisers, I think you'd see like a lot more conservatism. But the fact that he's worked with a lot more open-minded ones means he can go to the watch brands and be like, I do this with everyone. Don't be so weird about it, guys.
Cool. Well, go to the website, have a look at the article, and if you scroll down to the bottom, you will see that you can play Hitmas Maybe on the specific watch. So why not go and have a go with the wee emojis at the bottom of the page and let us know what you think.
Hi, this is Ariel Adams, founder of aBlogtoWatch, with a message about eBay. I visit eBay daily and have been relying on eBay to learn about and acquire watches for more than 20 years. Did you know that you can now buy watches directly from brands or their authorized dealers on eBay? Timepieces coveted by watch enthusiasts from brands like Zodiac, Laco, Parallel, and more are part of eBay's Certified by Brand program. Here's how it works. Luxury names are partnering with eBay to bring brand new and pre-owned watches and other luxury accessories directly to you. Certified by Brand includes a minimum 1-year factory warranty for watches and offers an unprecedented selection of new and used watches directly from the source, all with the peace of mind you can expect from eBay. Visit ebay.com/certified by brand for more information.
Well, we did play Hitmas Maybe last week on a watch we didn't actually know anything about yet, other than it was an Omega Speedmaster, so there wasn't a lot left to the imagination. This watch has now been released. It scored a 66% last week. We will see as to whether the actual watch scores higher or lower than that now that people actually know what it is. But what do we think? Are we excited? Do we think this is necessary? What do we think of having a little toy rocket on one of the subdials? Ariel.
I mean, look, parts of it are cool. The sort of miniature dioramas that have been going on in Omega kind of confuses me. Like, look, I understand watches are toys, but like when people like Omega for a certain like utilitarian purpose, and they like, I can't imagine like the NASA astronaut being like, yeah, this little rocket, on the second side. Like, it wouldn't be that way. You know what I mean? Like, it kills the fantasy of sort of why you like it in the first place. Like, it's like it's mutated. Like the moon watch has now mutated into something that the original moon watch was like, wait, guys, no, that's not what we meant by moon watch. They're like, it's not.
It's literally
called
a moon watch.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where like, usually it takes generations because they forgot actually the original reason. But now it's like, some of the people were still alive back then. And I would ask them, like Buzz Aldrin, like, yeah, what do you think about this? And like, I mean, he might love it, but I think he would also admit, no, I don't think I would have worn that in a mission.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't know what to make of the rocket. But yeah, you're right. I mean, we've had Snoopy and animated Snoopy. And on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, that's really cool. And then on the other hand, I'm like, that's so cheesy. And I'm not really sure. I'm undecided. But yeah, it certainly takes away. Yeah, I really don't know. I'm completely undecided as to whether I think it's a good idea. And it does beg the question that the problem is if you do this too often, then it just becomes an expectation. And so when you then try to produce a Speedmaster that doesn't have something animated on it, you're like, where's my animation? It's like, oh, this is still trying to sell this for the same price, and yet it doesn't have any gimmick on it. So
I have
yeah,
a theory.
not convinced.
I have a theory. My theory is that these watches can somehow be a reflection of the maturity level of the average ambassador at the brand, right? So a lot of these watches are actually made to impress the ambassadors. And depending on the ambassador's age and experience with watches, they're going to demand different things. The ambassador that demands the moon watch with the tiny rocket clearly is not that experienced of a watch enthusiast. And yet you look at the roster of Omega's ambassadors, which is vast at this point, and there's a lot of young kids on there that for them this is probably cool. So again, maybe that's a reflection of who Omega wants to appeal to right now and who they're trying to impress. They could just as easily go in a different direction, 10, 20 years from now. That's the beauty of it. But I think a lot of it has to do with like who are the people the brand talking to on a regular basis and how quickly when they wear this thing and they'll be like, oh, I know I asked for it, but yeah.
I mean, do you think it's somebody at Swatch is like, right, okay, if this is the payback, you now have to put little gimmicky toys on your watches if we have to put your brand in ours. This is the logical path that using Swatch as a kind of playful thing to integrate Omega as a big brand into. The resultant is you have to make the Omega seem more like a toy watch in the way that a Swatch can be seen as being.
Look, another way of looking at this is they're constricted. They're told to make new versions of a watch that they really can't change. And David, how many years ago were we sitting at Basel World asking ourselves, like what the hell are you going to come up with next year as the anniversary for the Speedmaster, right? Like we kept joking that they're going to run out of ideas, and I guess it's logical that they would get to this point because, like, in fact, they are out of ideas. They're just making it weirder and weirder. It's like, it's kind of like they're having a conversation with AI and be like, so if we wanted to make the Moonwatch more Moonwatch, any ideas? And they're like, rockets on the dial? Tiny rockets?
I guess.
I just...
Yeah, I mean, for the actual Moonwatch, the Speedmaster, it used to be an Excel randomizer. They would just put all the things in it, colors, Omega logo shapes, dot over 90, whatever, and they would just press enter, and then something would pop out. Like see-through case back, dot over 90, old school Omega logo, I guess, and then it would exist. And that's why the Moonwatch only book is like freaking long and has hundreds, if not thousands, of references because it's essentially a randomizer at this point. Of course, there are some historical references that are important and have to be, respected in a sense, but this one is very cartoonish, and it's just yesterday I think that I saw a chart on the value of the Snoopy that was launched in 2020 or something like that, and it tanked. It went from like 35,000 to 14 or 15,000, which I'm ashamed to admit this, but it sort of made me happy because it was such a nonsensical watch in the first place, and the fact that it's nice to have fun with watches and stuff, but still.
To say that a watch that should cost $10,000 doesn't cost $35,000. Like, why is that a shameful thing? Shouldn't we be calling out these brands all the time?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that the brand, priced it at 35, but the market did. Which is to say that people were like, oh, well.
You mean those 15 dealers? That market?
Well, I still feel like there were people picking it up for like 20 and 25 and 30. At least some, because they wanted
That's who you should feel sorry
so bad. Yeah, you see? That's the point.
It's a weird one. I was having this conversation with somebody recently about the difference between Omega and Rolex and the fact that, Rolex produces Submariner. And that's basically it. You get one with a date, you get one without a date. There's maybe the occasional color variation. And when one thing comes in, one thing goes out. Whereas you go to Omega Speedmaster, their big range, and as you say, there's hundreds, there's so much variety. Which one is going to win in terms of culture as it, keeps on going? Because we see individualism becoming more and more of a thing, and people like the thing that is theirs, that says the specific thing about them, that is their own design. We see watch brands, there's a couple this week, that are saying, yeah, you can design. Bremen have come out with design your own MB2. You've got various watches. Yeah, you can have any color you want type thing on this, that, and the next thing. That's Omega's strategy. Whereas Rolex said, no, we just produce one of these, and if you want to buy a Rolex, that's what you have to buy. Is there any value? Would there be any value in Omega going, right, you know what, guys? We're just going to produce the standard Speedmaster, and then once a year, there'll be a special, and we'll drop all the other ones? Or are they just in that train of thought, and it works for them, and that's it? And Rolex are in that train of thought, and it works for them.
A number of years ago, I had a strategic idea for Omega that they summarily rejected, and that was that the core Speedmaster Professional, the manually wound one with the acrylic crystal and all that, the same one that went to the moon, they should keep a price of about $3,000 for that watch. Even if their other watches cost more, the idea would be that it would be a sort of continuity leader. Maybe they'll make little improvements, but sort of is a nice entry level. And that because they kept it at a relatively low price, it's not like, Rolex and stuff would ever have a model like that. And maybe and that would sort of get you in, that would, in a sense, it would act the same way as the Moon Swatch was. It would be sort of appealing to a larger crowd. Instead, what they did is they jacked up the price double, basically, at this point, and did what you said. I think that Omega, like many watch brands, feels that there's more value in developing around their icons, their pillars, if you will, versus sort of making new stuff. And to Omega's credit, they've designed a lot of new stuff. But over the last couple of years, I mean, real novelty in the way that even David and I saw a couple of years ago is, I mean, it's gone, right? They're really trying to do the whole, we have these pillars and let's just keep building around those pillars and creating more and more and more around those pillars. So it's Seamaster, it's Speedmaster, it's a little constellation. But to sell more watches, which they have to do because they're a factory, they have to, come out with new variety, because what they've realized is that there isn't a big enough market out there for everyone on the planet to have a Speedmaster, so they have to create new reasons for existing Speedmaster buyers to buy more Speedmasters. So I think the really important question to ask is, given that economic reality, do these watches make you, as an existing Speedmaster owner, want to buy more Speedmasters? And once in a while it's yes, but oftentimes it's, I don't know if it is.
There are 104 Speedmaster watches listed on the OmegaWatches.com website.
You can buy
currently
right
on sale.
Now. Currently on sale.
Yeah.
That's just nuts. And this one is 14.5 grand nearly, up from the original 9. We're going to be looking at watches later on in Hit Miss Maybe, which are very nice chronographs, and they're in the 9-10 grand. I don't understand how this thinks that it can justify in the space of, less than 5 years?
David, do you remember the shock around the original Dark Side of the Moon, which was, I think, it was 12,500, I believe?
Yeah.
Okay, so
and
that,
quite
I
a long
remember
time
what
ago.
year that was, but that was shockingly expensive at the time because it was like $4,000 or $5,000 more than the steel equivalent. And they had a waiting list, and people would wonder, like what's the depreciation gonna be like? And Omega did a pretty good job of keeping that high. And then what did they do? They started making too many versions of the Dark Side of the Moon. Remember, David?
Way too many. Yes.
It was all these fashion ones. It was the gray side of the moon, the white side of the moon.
Yeah, the white one.
Yeah, there were non-existent sides of the moon. So apparently the first one came out in 2013.
Wow, that long ago.
Yeah, almost 11 years ago. That's nuts.
Okay, we get to play for the first time this year, possibly, guess the price of the Seiko. We did have a brief look at this on the little aBlogtoWatch weekly WhatsApp group. We got some folk to guess. A wide, a not unexpectedly wide selection of potential prices, but these are two new releases, the Seiko Prospects, the Black Series, the SRPK43 and the SSC 923. Okay, let's play Guess the Price of the Seiko on the Prospects SRPK 43. This is basically a blacked out version of the Turtle. What else would you like to know about it, gentlemen, before you have your guess?
This is on a bracelet?
It's on a bracelet. It's 45mm in diameter, 13.2 thick, 22mm lug to lug, 3 hertz, 4R36 movement.
And anything special about the black coating, or is it just black coated steel?
It's just black coating. I don't think there's anything particularly exciting about it. I don't know if it's.
I'm sure it's a super
It'll be
duper
super
black
tough.
coating.
Yeah,
I'm
it'll
guessing
be extra
like maybe
black Pro.
$800.
800, David.
I'll go with 950.
950 to 725. So a bargain. By Seiko standards, it would seem at the
That's
moment.
a good price.
It is a good price. I have to say, Seiko, well done. This is a good price. For this watch feels like that's what it's worth. And then the second one is the SSC 923. This is a solar quartz chronograph of what kind of scale. It is reasonable sized as well. It's caliber V192 solar quartz.
It's a good looking watch.
Good looking watch. What size is the watch? I don't see a size here. It will be around here somewhere. 41.4. So basically, it's got Speedmaster vibes for sure. So how much do you reckon this? Much cheaper, no doubt.
I don't know, $500 maybe.
David?
Yeah, I'll go with 600 at
Yeah,
most.
it is 700. So actually,
Oh, really?
nothing too shocking.
So random.
It's all random. I mean, it's just a random number, but so it's cheaper than the manual. But it's a good looking watch again. Not bad. It's not on a bracelet. It's on a strap.
Oh, it's
But
on a strap.
these are certainly well worth a look. I really do like the turtle, the blacked out turtle.
That's the one I would get. Yeah.
The photos make it look really nice. Whether it's as nice or as chippy in real life, we would need to wait and see.
I think the trick here is that the lume is green even in the light when in daylight, right? So it glows green obviously, but it's I think it's like, sometimes on some of these pictures it's bright blue, sometimes it's green. It really depends, but that really sets the whole thing off that it's not white.
They do look cool.
Yeah, cool looking watches.
Right, well, before we play Hit Miss Maybe, it's going to be a bit different this week. We are going to play Hit Miss Maybe on 3 watches, but if you're listening on YouTube, you're only going to hear 2 of them. If you want to hear the third watch, you're going to have to go to the YouTube channel, aBlogtoWatch Weekly Live, and have a look at that there. So, but again, even before we play Hit Miss Maybe, we're going to play something that we're calling, I've decided to call Roman and the Gloman, and you're going to hear a little bit of audio from one of our WhatsApp group members, Roman.
Hello, gents. It's Roman here, Times Roman AU. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I've got a bit of a thought experiment for you. I've been reflecting on the number of brands there are on the market at the moment and whether the collector community actually pays attention to all of them, or if some could disappear without a trace and no one would miss them. So here's the thought. I was wondering, what do you think, which brands could disappear overnight tomorrow without fanfare, and would the collector community notice their absence? I've got some strong candidates for this, but I was wondering what you can come up with. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Cheers from down under. Bye.
He had proposed a selection of Piaget, Bob and Mercier, Maurice Lacroix and Raymond Weil, and we'll put those in the voting box. If you're listening to this on Spotify, you can go there and take part. But Ariel, which watch brand could disappear overnight and nobody would notice for a while?
The funny thing is there's been brands that have disappeared and I've actually haven't noticed for a while. One that I remember that I liked a lot was a Clerk, CLERC, and it was like, I don't know, it was just, it so silently died in the night. And it's like one day I was like, what the hell? I used to talk to that guy all the time, Gerald. He was cool. They made cool stuff, and
Where's Gerald?
it's always those little like niche sport watches that like
Very
you already
cool
kind of
watches.
secretly. Some of those brands, you're like, you wonder, you're like, you selling enough? You making it? And when they leave, you're not like that surprised. But some of them have like amazing stick-to-itiveness. And you're like, you think they disappear for like years. Like, no, I've been here. I've been selling only in my community and to my people. I've been living under a bench. I think the exciting thing is when the brands die, like really, really die. This is great because that gives an opportunity for someone in the future to buy the brand and revitalize it. So I actually want more brands to die so they could just sort of like have a nice clean slate. What's another Nivrel? That's a brand you haven't heard from in a while. German brand Nivrel. Did they die? Maybe. I don't know.
I think they're still about.
If this gets taken out of context, that's going to be bad for you, Ariel. Ariel Adams wants watch brands to die.
David, who could disappear and you wouldn't notice?
Somebody technically already did. I mean, Jacques Drault, if you think about it, it's virtually become defunct and in all kinds of, fantastic ways. And
hey, they still have a P.O. box somewhere.
Yes, and I now went to their website, which is quite hysterical. It does not list a watch. There's no watches menu anywhere on the website. It says Les Ateliers, so you can read about their workshops.
It's like a landing page.
It's really just a landing. So they're showing off stuff that they've made some time ago, and not that long ago, like 4 years pre-COVID. People would discuss Jacques Drault every once in a while. Like we would see them at least once at Baza World, and there would be like some weird watch, sometimes cool, sometimes not so cool, and all those automata which were very nice. And I remember I was in Hong Kong like 6-7 years ago, and I was in the middle of the square, and as I was turning around, I could see 3 different Jacques Drault boutiques. 3. Within from the same spot, and now we've come a very long way from that. So somehow all of that tanked. And to answer this question, some of these brands do go away. I mean, when was the last time we heard about a new Jacques Drault? And it's a freaking huge luxury brand, or at least it used to be within the Swatch group, where it still exists, and
Did
it's gone.
Technomarine die? I know U-Boat's still around. I thought they died for a while, but they didn't.
No, U-Boat's still around.
Oh, I know they are. I'm just
Quite a big seller in the UK, U-Boat.
Putting around a
Really?
Technomarine. Let's see.
I haven't. I used to see a lot of U-Boats on people's wrists. I haven't seen a U-Boat on someone's wrist in maybe since World War II.
Looking at Technomarine watches just makes me depressed. It's
Since
really
the
bad.
beaches of Normandy was the last time you saw a U-Boat. Is that what you're telling me?
Jeez.
Okay. So yeah, I think it's an interesting question. So go and take part if you're on Spotify in the poll, and if I can, I'll leave a wee box there that allows you to select
say
your own
that-
watch brand.
AP is that for me? Is that fair?
Yes, that's the alternative question, which is
Does
what
that
brand
count?
is dead to you?
Now we're talking about what brand is a zombie, which is like a little bit different. It's the Living Dead. They still have employees, but
That's Jacques Drault. I mean, as I was saying this, I could picture some people sitting in the Jacques Drault, like at that fancy hillside manufacturer. They're like, "Well, we are here," and then they would be like, "Well, what are we doing here?" The phone hasn't rung in like freaking like 2
someone
years.
says,
Nobody
we
calls.
no longer have email addresses, right?
Nobody calls.
Why is the phone not ringing? Good stuff, grand. Okay.
They're all waiting for the day for one of the Hayeks to show up. Like, today's going to be the day.
Like, what is this place? Like full Travolta, like. That's funny. It's just after sales, but still it takes 6 months to repair a watch, even though they don't make any.
Good
that's too
stuff.
funny.
Well, if you want to do a
We're
nomination,
mean.
then check the show notes for that. Okay, we're now going to play Hit Miss Maybe, so I'm going to try and let everybody in who's joining us this week. And if you want to tune into this in audio visual, you can check the aBlogtoWatch live YouTube channel, or maybe you'll actually be there right now at around about 8:15 on a Tuesday, waiting for us so that you can take part live in the chat. Let's see what happens. Well, here we all are gathered for our Hit Miss Maybe. We have some new faces, but we'll go round the room. So first up, Ariel, where are you? What are you wearing?
I am in Los Angeles, and I'm wearing the small version of the Gorilla Fastback, known as the
very nice.
Aurelia.
Very nice. Leslie,
Pretty,
where are
39
you?
millimeters.
39? It doesn't count. It's not a real watch. Leslie, where are you? What are you wearing?
I'm in Dublin, Ireland, and I'm wearing a Universal Genève Full Redder. Another thing that we don't like on this podcast, which is vintage watches.
No, we're not against vintage watches. Are we against vintage? Hands up anyone who's against vintage watches?
A little bit.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Turns out I'm wrong. We are against vintage watches. That is in fact the group policy. Ripley, where are you? What are you wearing?
I'm in Los Angeles, and I'm wearing the Trasca Venture GMT.
Very nice. Simon, welcome to Hit Miss Maybe. Where are you and what are you wearing?
So I'm in Wales in the UK, and today I'm wearing my Tudor Black Bay ceramic.
Very good.
Nice.
Will, in your castle somewhere, where are you? What are you wearing?
In my evil castle somewhere in the mountains. In Kent in England. And I'm wearing Casio G-Shocks, the DW 5600, which is my current favourite watch.
Good. Will's just trying to be one of the people while he's in his big castle by wearing a G-Shock. Kevin, welcome to the show. Where are you? What are you wearing?
I'm also in Kent, and I'm wearing a Celebration dial, but not by Rolex. It's the Fears one which came out just before Christmas. It's the Friends and Family edition.
Very nice.
So it's got very, very nice. Very
Good.
nice
Bought
indeed.
it yourself, or was it bought for you by a friend or family?
It wasn't bought because I'm such
freebie.
good friends with Nicholas. Yeah, he's
okay,
the Friends and Family ones. Basically gave them away for free.
Right. Okay, I see. Good stuff, David. Where are you and what are you wearing?
I'm in Budapest and I'm not wearing a watch, but next week I
Excellent.
might, since I'm home.
Keep it going. Of course, I'm in Scotland wearing a Panerai. But you knew that already. Right, let's play a little bit of Hit, Miss, Maybe. And let me share the screen. And first up this week is going to be a little number from Cartier, the Cartier Pasha. Chronograph 41 blue-green dial watch. So this is a 41mm, 12mm thick dive-ish watch, 100 meter water resistant. It's got a date at 4:30, which we all love. Obviously, it's automatic 4 Hz, 40 hours power reserve, and it is £10,400. But is it a hit, a miss, or a maybe for all of us gathered here today? So on the count of 3, hit, miss, or maybe. 1, 2, 3, go. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4 hits and 1, 2, 3 maybes and 1 miss. Okay, Ariel, you voted hit. Why is it hit?
Well, I love the fact that it's a conservative Cartier, but super not conservative in the design. So you can sort of get away with wearing it anywhere you would, just a normal dress watch, but it has a little bit of extra weirdness to it. It's got the sporty elements. It's got the whole like vintage dive watch thing. It doesn't really need to have a lot of those things. It's totally about the design. The color's kind of compelling. It's a little bit more legible, sort of in the silver dial, but this green, this sort of blue-green color, I think is interesting. I tried to identify it with a particular color from Beetlejuice, and I got screenshots and all that. No one even commented on that. That's fine, but amusing. But I just find this fun. And the funny thing is that, it was like $11,000 or something like that. Oddly, doesn't feel expensive compared to what similar watches cost right now.
Yes, we have just been talking on the show about the new Speedmaster at $14,500 versus this. I'm buying this, but what are you doing, Leslie?
That Speedmaster was too expensive. I was all excited for that Speedmaster when it came out, but then I'm not paying that much. This is gorgeous. And look at that color. And it matches the dial seems to match the cabochon as well. Am I right on that? I mean, It looks. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was chunky, but that's just only 12 millimeters, which again is fantastic. There's no Omegas at 12 millimeters; they're all 15 and more. I really like it. It's a little clunky, maybe, but I think I'd definitely wear this. And I've always had a soft spot for Mont Blanc. I think they're still under the radar a little.
Good stuff. Ripley, how did you vote?
It's a maybe. I like it more than I don't, but it's definitely a maybe for me. I'm not a big Pasha guy. I like the idea of it more than I like it for myself, but I prefer the 3-handed ones to the chronograph. I just kind of wish they do something better with the date window on the chronographs. It's a little bit chunky. I don't know if this is the Pasha I would take. I do like the color. I do like that the dial matches the cabochons. And like Ariel said, it does seem like a decent deal considering that it's a chronograph from Cartier. And, we live in a world where brands are doing the $15,000 chronograph all day long. Yeah. So the fact that this comes in about 10 and change feels fair.
Yeah.
Ripley's the grill version for you. Is that your Pasha?
Oh, yes, and preferably with all the diamonds. I want myself
yeah.
to have a grill, and I want my watch to have a grill. I want to go full
You gotta match.
Atlanta rap
Yeah.
video, yes.
Full grill. What's the superhero character? Which is it Bane? Thane? Was it Bane that had the mask over his face?
Yeah, Bane.
He's the COVID edition, right? He's got the horn.
Simon, you gave it a miss, I think.
Yeah. This is probably going to be a really unpopular decision, I guess, but I don't know. This just doesn't appeal to me, and I think it's on a visual level. I think that the design reminds me very much of some of the vintage watches from the sort of, say vintage, but kind of late 70s, early 80s. But there's lots of elements for me that visually just don't work together on this watch. They don't all together. And I think some of those designs for me should have probably stayed there. And this just doesn't feel like it's really evolved. So no, for me, it's a miss, I'm afraid. Combined with the price, well, I certainly won't be buying one.
Fair enough. Okay. And next up, Will, have you changed your mind since you voted?
Well, Ripley's had some very convincing arguments.
How did you vote, and what have you changed it to?
No, I voted maybe, because obviously I'm going to stay on the fence on this one. I like things like the color, and I like Pasha, but the reason why I said maybe and not a hit is that I think it's a piece of jewelry more than necessarily a dive watch, and I'm a real stickler for having things to stay. If it's a diver, it has to look like a big chunky diver, no matter how much money you're paying for it. And if it's like a Pasha or like a Ballon Bleu or something like that, I prefer it to be more elegant. And it is elegant, but I think it's just trying to be something that it probably shouldn't be, which sounds super harsh, but really good price point. Good color. It's not for me, but I can see it appealing to a definite audience, and I think it will probably end up being a hit for Cartier. And they need all the help they can get, obviously. Poor Cartier.
True, poor Cartier. Kevin, are you part of the audience that would have said this was a hit?
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, the colour for a start is just stunning. I love it. The design, yes, you do have to get used to it, but look at those pushers. I mean, who doesn't like bulbous pushers? It's certainly unique in the watch world, and that's very distinctive. And
Can we get a quote of that? I like
different.
that soundbite there.
Oh yeah, bulbous.
I think you can have surgery for that, can't you?
Who doesn't like bulbous pushers? I agree.
But, I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, I don't have a Cartier, but this is one which I would definitely consider. Absolutely.
If you say nice things about them, maybe they'll give you a free one eventually, Kevin.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's hope so. Let's hope so. But yeah, hit all day long.
Good stuff. David, how did you vote?
I voted a maybe. Conceptually, I like it, as Ariel described, I think, for those reasons, but as Leslie said, it's a bit clunky. I think it's just not a complete homework in a sense. It's like proportionally, it's just not as nice to look at. It's just, I like details and I like the concept, but overall, it's just not a watch that, to my eyes, is nice to look at.
Yeah, it's not a cohesive design. I think that's where I'm coming from with it.
Yeah.
Well, I voted a hit.
But it looks great at dinner.
Oh my goodness, does it look great at dinner?
Probably eat your dinner off it.
You could use your bulbous pushers for something at dinner, I'm quite sure.
It's happened before.
I said it was a hit because it is a hit, so just deal with it, guys. It's a great watch. And the problem with the price is, like, we're sitting there 10 grand for this watch going, this is really great value. 5 years ago, this watch would still have been 10 grand because Cartier just seemed to keep basically the same prices. And maybe 10 years ago we go, that's far too expensive. But now that we're in the land of the 15 grand Speedmaster and, the generally 13 grand chronograph, a watch from Cartier seems like a good deal, which is
I think you're right. I've just changed my mind, Greg.
Just change your mind. No, there's only room for one flip-flopper in this show, and that's Will. Will, stake your place.
How dare you?
Good. Good stuff. Right, next up we have from Mont Blanc. The okay. Here's a mouthful. The Mont Blanc 1858 Geosphere Chronograph Zero Oxygen, the 8000 limited edition watch. Right, well, once you've had a chance to relax and think about what it's called, you can get your signage ready to give a vote on this. So is this a hit, a miss, or a maybe? 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. 1, 2, 3, 4 maybes. So no misses. It's all hits and maybes. So let's start off. My screen has reorganized itself just to confuse me. So first up this time, it's Leslie.
Yeah.
What did you vote and why?
Anyone notice the deliberate error there I made a minute ago when I mentioned Mont Blanc?
We all noticed it. We just chose not to embarrass you.
I was, yeah.
You're already dreaming of this watch.
I was. I really like this. Really like this. I have a soft spot for both Cartier and Mont Blanc. Yeah, I love the color. I think it's a good size. I think I love all the little details. The fact that it. The tacky stuff that they put into it, and I think it just looks fab. And again, that blue color is really subtle, and the dial looks good. Maybe they could have colored in the date window, but no, really like this.
Good stuff. Ripley.
It's a maybe. Oh, so it's a gorgeous watch. I like the whole zero oxygen concept. It's cool that they're doing their own kind of sports watch thing. It's not the same typical kind of mountaineering watch or whatever. It's all in all, it's a good looking watch, but it is absolutely massive for anything sports related. Look how tall it is. I mean, it is so tall. It's competing with some Arab building in the Emirates for height. It's absolutely
is 17
massive.
mil tall, yes.
17 mil tall, that's a lug width. That is not the thickness of a watch.
It's 44 mil wide, so as Panerai wearers, we're okay with this.
So, I mean, as a sports watch, this is not what I'd want on my wrist if I'm doing anything remotely sports related, but it's also gorgeous. I like the concept behind it. So it's a firm maybe.
Good. A firm maybe on this. It's a 100mm Solita base with a Mont Blanc kind of module on it that gives it all its fancy stuff. Simon, how did you vote and why?
I voted a maybe on this, and I've got so many reasons to hate this watch. It's like, it can't, reading all about it, I was like thinking, yeah, don't like that, yeah, don't like that, yeah. But there's still something about it. So the name for a start, right? It's just the longest, I think, most unnecessary name they've given it. I think I don't know how they could have made it any longer. So don't like the name. The design, I think.
Pro to the end of it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, why not? Let's do that as well. Pro Explorer. The design is really fussy. They've got so many things going on with it. If they removed a few elements, I think it could improve it massively. They've just done everything, thrown everything at it. And then you've got this whole zero oxygen thing. Yeah, I kind of like the concept. It feels like a great marketing concept, but actually has no real purpose or benefit. I mean, when have any of us worried about our watches foggy up on the inside or
jumping out of a plane, sir?
Yeah, you've done that, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Pushing
regularly.
someone out of a plane.
A few times, not regularly, but there are gentlemen that do.
Well, yeah, but if I'm going to jump out of a plane, I'm going to put a G-Shock on. There's no way that I'm going to put an expensive watch on my wrist. And so I've got all these reasons to hate it, and yet there's just something about it that I can't put my finger on that I think, I quite like it.
Yeah.
So it's not a hit. It's definitely a maybe.
Will, changed your mind yet?
No. I said hit, and I'm staying with hit. I love this all day long. I know, look at that decision. It's great. I love the design. I love all of the quirky features. Normally, I'm a little bit cynical about kind of quirky features for the sake of it, but the design, the case back, even the zero oxygen part of it, obviously making it a slight nightmare if you really want to have it serviced properly. But I really like it. I would be very excited to put this on every morning and wear it. And of course, it's probably massively impractical, and it will probably lead to your downfall if you're trying to climb a mountain or something like that, as it gets snagged in something and then you plummet to your death. But at least it wouldn't fog up, I suppose, on the way down. So
you'd be able to see exactly your time of death. You'd be able to observe.
At least if you fell into one of those crevasses, the watch would just snag, wouldn't it? And it would save you. So maybe that's the practical usage.
Yeah.
The Mont Blanc Ice Pick watch. Kevin, this appears to be the watch equivalent of filling your car tires with nitrogen. Is it a hit, a miss, or a maybe for you? Kevin has frozen.
No, I'm
No,
back
he's
now.
back.
I'm back
He's
now.
back. I thought he was demonstrating the usefulness of this watch in freezing conditions.
Yes. I mean, I actually put this as a maybe, but now I'm going back to a miss.
I'm sorry. There's a whole.
Sorry,
there's a
Will.
whole
There
thing
can be
here.
only
Can
one
Eng-
flip-flop here.
I've got a whole row of English people here not able to make up their minds. What is it, guys? Come on.
Oh, God. Well, it could be worse. It could be worse. It could be like Brexit, for instance. 'cause
Exactly.
we could all
This
go
is
along that
50,
route.
48, 52. You're living in a world of
Yeah.
compromise. So tell us why it's a what?
Oh, it's now. Well, basically, I originally looked at 1850 green and the blue are fantastic, but this is just. I think it's too thick for a start. I mean, why on earth is it? How thick is it? 17 mil.
Yeah.
I mean, God's sake, you can't wear that thing. You cannot wear it. And I've obviously got the compass bezel as opposed to a normal chronograph for whatever reason. And can you imagine going to a dinner party? I know you do, Ariel, quite a lot. Wearing this and say, "Oh, that's a very nice watch. What is it? Oh, it's buy that watch. Oh, because it's got 0 oxygen in it." I mean, they're going to fall asleep. Come on, it's just.
Ariel, are you desperate to bore someone with this watch?
It reminds me of that phrase. What is it? They sucked all the oxygen
It's
out of the
not a watch,
room.
Pete. And it's just. So sorry, it's now definitely.
No, I have to accept your.
There
This
you
is
go,
like a game
miss.
show. I have
Sorry,
to.
Mont Blanc.
I have to accept your first answer. There's no mind changing, unless you're Will. We accept that you change the mind. It's difficult. It's difficult. Yeah, he has struggles. Ariel, how did you vote in this?
I said maybe, and I'm sticking to it. What I think people need to know is that this watch was a part of a capsule collection of 4 different watches. This is the only limited edition. And the strange thing is that all Mont Blanc did is just build on all the watches to get to this one. So there's a 3-hand 0 oxygen, which is probably the most practical. There's a chronograph version, there's a geosphere version, and then there's the chronograph geosphere version. And that's why it's so thick, because they literally just stack these modules on top of one another to get there. Mm-hmm. So you have like the most expensive version because they thought like it would be cool if we all put it together. But you're right, like you look at the bezel, you're like, that doesn't make a lot of sense with this and with that. So for me, the best version is just the geosphere version. It's still got that titanium case. It's still very well made. I think it has an even cooler case back that uses the same laser etching technology. It's just got the geosphere complication, which makes sense. And it's not a limited edition. It costs a lot less. Or if you really like the chronograph, there's just a chronograph. So I agree that overall this concept is cool. I think that the 0 oxygen thing, just sort of as a watch nerd, you can sort of understand it. And we like it for the same reason we like a helium release valve or something like that. But this version was like, I think a little bit too much. And we all sort of agreed like, it's a bit expensive. It's a bit thick. But there's 3 other non-limited ones that like are way more practical.
I do love the fact that this is the 8,000 limited edition watch, of which is a limited edition of 290. So
why is it called
No,
8,000? There's no one mountain that's 8,000. This is inspired by the 14 mountains above 8,000. It's like practicality meets like French poetry. It doesn't make any sense.
David, how did you vote?
I voted ahead just because I want to see more of this sort of exercise. I quite like the dial, the execution. It's a remarkably complex dial. Case is quite nice as well. Yes, it's too thick. I wouldn't spend my 10 grand on this. Sorry, I said, the cheaper versions are much nicer, and if you're into this 0 oxygen thing, which again is a cool exercise. I remember when Cartier did the ID2 and they had that watch with vacuum in it, and it boosted the power reserve and had to potentially improve the accuracy and all sorts of stuff. I like these exercises, so that's why I'm saying that yes, Mont Blanc, keep this up. I mean, I'm not suggesting 17 millimeters is acceptable because it is not. But overall, that's the concept, and outside of the thickness, the execution is up there too.
I want to know, how do you know it's got no oxygen in it? Like, just because they've told you we've extracted all the oxygen.
It's that luxury promise.
I mean,
yeah, it's a
as soon as you
trick.
open it, you can't. You can't prove it. So
there goes
you
the
shrink
oxygen.
yourself, you go inside, and then you die. That's how you do.
You can get some very expensive machinery to test it yourself.
Have they elaborated how oxygen doesn't get in the case from fuddling with the pushers and the crown?
Gaskets.
Well, yeah, but I mean
Blue
gaskets. Air is less dense than water. You can't go underwater and start messing with your crown and pushers without experiencing some water ingress. So is it not too much to believe you'd get oxygen ingress by futzing with your pushers or setting your time or winding your watch?
This is why they want to see you every 5 years for a service.
Local watchmaker and get it serviced. You have to send it back, which is just ludicrous.
If there's oxygen in it, you lose the warranty.
Or is that a cause to bring it back? You just bring it back and say, "There's oxygen in my watch."
There's far too much air in this watch. How dare you? Get it out! Get it out!
There you go. That's an experiment I would like to try. Is taking it back to the watch. I need to make a claim in the warranty. There's too much oxygen in this watch, and see how everybody goes about proving it one way or t'other. I gave this a hit because I just love the geosphere. I don't care who thinks this is. It's just a cool watch. So
can we mention the writing on the back? It says, if you look at the writing on the back, it says, "Don't be afraid to dreaming." I'm sorry, that offends me that that's written so badly written.
Yeah.
Don't be
that's
afraid
more
to
marketing
dreaming.
spiel. It's just...
Yeah, so the back of the watch says...
It says, "Don't be afraid." See on the left?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of dreaming, yeah.
Don't be afraid to dream, okay? Come on.
I like how it's a different font even, like it was an afterthought. Like, there's a little bit more room
sure
here.
it is.
Let's also put giving up is not an option. I like how you're about to give up. You're like, oh, I didn't realize I wasn't allowed to do that.
I turned my watch around and now I am inspired. I will not give up.
But look at the little Mont Blanc star that's on the easy release on the strap. That's a good detail. Does that make up for it, sort of? Not really.
Okay. The back of this watch looks like someone's hanging out their washing.
Oh, you mean the clothing line?
It's like three clotheslines at the
I'm
bottom.
pretty sure that's what that is. No matter where you are in the world, no matter how cold it is, you can still dry your clothing this way. That's the
Don't
line.
give up on your laundry ever.
Always be in fresh underwear.
It's. Well, I was going to say it is.
They should write that on the back.
Exactly.
Always bring fresh underwear
and
or
always have
a
clean
clothesline.
pants on.
Always bring a clothesline. What if it had a tiny clothesline you could unravel from the case and the bezel?
I think it should come in with a free clothes peg, like in a clothes peg box.
Clothesline.
Clothesline. One of those paracord clotheslines that you would use camping, just for the.
I think Leslie makes a really interesting point about the phrasing, doesn't it? Because it almost reads like one of those Chinese copy watches or something, where they kind of are just. They've said the right words quite, but in the wrong order, or something like that. Are you sure this is a genuine watch, Rick?
This is a genuine watch that someone who did not
created.
speak English originally designed. Yes.
Good stuff.
I mean, I might change my mind if it did have bulbous pushers, but those ones, no.
They're so flat, not bulbous
They're
enough.
exactly very flat. No, not for me.
Okay. Right. Well, last week, you can now. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, you're now going to miss the next couple of bits. So you need to find the YouTube channel to hear what the guys actually think about the Speedmaster that was provisionally voted on without seeing it blind last week, and a historical review of the Cartier crash. Join us on the podcast and on the YouTube channel later in the week. But other than that, it's goodbye from me and goodbye from all of them. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone.